Hey everyone, and thanks for coming back for the first podcast. Or probably not coming back, or just starting here. I guess it's a podcast. I'm not really sure what it is, but this is going to be kind of the first episode to the Furthermore series coming at you. And the first thing I really want to talk about before I kind of get into all this is sharing my story and how I got into it. Because a lot of you are probably wondering what does a young kid like me know about anything of the home service industry. But I am young. I started when I was only 18, and I started when my father was just a one-man band, and he started his company at 54 years old. He went to trade school after losing everything in the 2008 crash. He was 54 and went back to trade school, and mid-trade school he opened up his company before even getting his EPA, I believe. He at least established it, and then as a business in New York City. And following that, I mean, he winged it, and he went into the field after many years many years in the contracting industry, building private homes. He went and specialized into HVAC after the 2008 depression. So I went to school, high school. I stuck around Dad for a little bit, and I kind of learned the gist of things. We were kind of learning together because I only really started with him, really, and we kind of learned it all together. And he was, mostly a one-man band, just a one-man and a Chevy Astro, a two-wheel drive Chevy Astro. And little by little, he just kept learning things. I remember when I was still in high school. He had to buy a manifold gauge, and it cost like $600 or something like that. It was something outrageous, and his heart dropped, and he couldn't believe it. And it's amazing to see where we were to where we are today. So it's kind of my backstory, how I got into this. For the first 6 months that I got into this business, I bullshitted my way through everything. I didn't screw anybody over. I didn't give anybody numbers that I wasn't supposed to, or at least made them pay or things like that. I just sent out estimates to every development I could possibly find online. I cold called hundreds of companies in the area, whether it be small-time contractors or big-time development companies. I printed out mechanical plans and learned those things from beginning to end. I learned what everything in mechanical plans meant, and of course there's so much more to learn than what I know today, but I just learned enough to at least wrap my head around the industry. And the reason I'm starting the episode off with that is because starting in the industry can be extremely anxiety-inducing. A lot of people are not confident, even starting for working for other people. A lot of people come in kind of scared and not knowing what to expect from other techs who have been in the industry for many years. And people get very cocky once they get good at something. So getting it into whether it be starting your own business from working at a place for a while, or not starting and your own business and just working for somebody, can both be very stressful. And there's no really way to skip that process. It's going to be stressful in the beginning. It's going to be a little anxiety inducing, but I think the only way to get through that is to come in with full confidence. And not confidence meaning knowing what you're talking about, but rather confidence that you can handle something that may be thrown at you that you may not know what you're doing right now, but at least you'll be able to handle it, and you'll be able to learn with a good head on your shoulders. Because a lot of times when things happen, I feel guys can get scared on the job site. A homeowner might be there, another contractor might be looking over their job, and they get scared and they don't really know what to do. It's always important, in my experience, that I learned was to keep myself headstrong, keep myself in a straight line, and not really care about what other people think. In the home service industry, whether it be mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and various other things, supply houses are not exactly the lovey-dovey places that have to keep up the best customer service or things of that nature. A lot of times it's a lot of tough people behind the counter. They don't really have much patience for people who don't know what they're talking about. But looking like an idiot is probably the most beneficial thing I've ever done. Because when I started at my supply house here in New York, we just started getting to know each other. He really didn't like us. The manager of the supply house really didn't like me in the beginning. I was just a young guy trying to make my way through it, and he really didn't like the way I didn't know what I was talking about, but kept asking questions. So it's very important to keep those two things in mind. Didn't know what I was talking about, but I kept asking questions, looking like an idiot and asking questions that may seem bizarre to me now, or to somebody with a little more experience in the field. Helped me get through it so far. There are so many people who have had, unfortunately, that I've had to come work for us and leave was just because they were afraid to learn more, or they just didn't have any encouraging backbone to ask and to be eager to learn more. So that's just something that I think just took me tremendously far. And after I did that, he saw, there was a good nature to us, and how I really wanted to just genuinely learn the industry, genuinely learn how things work. And from there on, it gave me a lot of confidence to understand, just by getting a good relationship with the supply house, it helped me understand how the industry works. It's not as complicated as people think it is to go head to head with other big companies that you might see in the area. You might be a small guy working at a job site, just maybe you and a helper working, and there's another company that's a plumbing company working beside you on a new construction project, and they are all suited up, logos and hats and sweaters, and it's intimidating because you think you're the only guy who doesn't know what they're doing, and you're too scared to ask questions. Asking questions was the first step that got me to kind of wrap my head around what this is all about. Calling contractors and seeing a house being built from like 16 or 17 years old, I'm like, oh my God, how can this house be built so easily and no one has problems? Things happen in the field. When you think that when you're on a job and so many things might go wrong, it doesn't just happen to you. There are times where I thought there's no one in the world that this was happening to. People make mistakes. Even the biggest companies make mistakes. And I had a hard time wrapping my head around that, because there's another company in the area that has been here forever, since the 50s. And their guys made mistakes. After a while, you realize the customers tell me, this guy's company came here and their guys screwed up, and they have 25 vans, versus the 3 that we have. So it was kind of not, it didn't feel good, but it was definitely reassuring to know that other people made mistakes too. It's not just you. Having confidence isn't something that only cocky HVAC techs or only cocky plumbers have, that with so much experience in the field. It's not something that is given to you after 20 years of working. Confidence comes in from the very beginning, being able to learn, being eager to learn, admitting when you're wrong, assessing situations properly, and not being afraid of asking questions, creating good relationships, asking questions, and learning as much as I could in my own time was the first thing that helped me into developing my career in the home service industry. I hope this little session brought you a little something. I hope more are to come. Stay tuned. I want to hear from you guys what you think and how you were entering the field. Whether you just be starting out now, or you have your own company, and how you started in the beginning of how anxious and how stressful it was getting used to the industry. I want to know, comment below and tell me how it was for you specifically, how you got involved, how people were, how you were treated as an apprentice. I'm really interested to know where you guys are coming from. So I hope this brought a little something to you. That's my story. Stay tuned for another video, hopefully soon. Thanks.